And so the zero product property, formal definition. If A and B are real numbers, what's a real number? Anna.
Isn't it a number that has like no decimal?
It's basically any number that can be put into
One and two.
well, so you've got rational numbers which can be put into fractions, and then you've got real numbers, which is essentially all rational numbers and everything under that umbrella. So real numbers are kind of vague, but it's anything fraction, it's anything decimal, even repeating things are real numbers. So pi is a real number.
Any number. 3.141. So any number?
Pretty much any number that you have used in arithmetic is a real number.
Isn't it
So if A and B
wait.
if A and B are real numbers such that A times B equals 0, then A equals 0 or B equals 0. So someone put that in your own words for me. Sam?
If you're multiplying any number times 0, the answer is always going to be 0.
Yeah, any number times 0 is going to be 0. And so in this situation, if you make A 0, it'll end up 0. Or if you make B 0, it'll end up 0. Make either letter 0 if you want the answer to be 0, zilch, none, nada, nothing.
English.
Empty set. That's a mathematical phrase for nothing. Nils.
Like 2i?
No. Nick, you're wrong.
How about like 24
Tyrese,
exclamation
what's
point?
Okay, since everything on here equals 0, couldn't all the answers just be 0?
Well, you got to figure out what x equals, because x isn't going to equal 0 in all these situations. So, examples, if you have x times y equals 0, then what I want you to write under example 1 is x equals 0, or, you write an or there,
X equals 0.
y equals 0. And what about the next one? Because in the example, x times x minus 2, if you make x 0, then what you'll have is 0 times 0 minus 2, which simplifies to 0. What's 0 minus 2 in the parentheses?
Negative
0 times negative 2. What does that equal?
0.
0. So,
It's just 0.
so 0 is a possibility, but look at this. What if instead of putting 0, you put
1.
7.
2? Let's say x is going to equal 2.
Negative 4.
Wait, are we gonna have to make
2 times, in the parentheses, 2 minus 2. What is 2 minus 2?
0.
So 2 times 0 equals?
0.
Oh,
So there are two possibilities for x. There's actually, whenever you see an x squared, there's always two possibilities for x. They're not always going to be different possibilities. They might be the exact same thing. If you just have x times x, your two options for x are 0 and 0. But over here, your two options for x are 0 and 2. And so, right here, your final answer in the example would be x equals 0, comma, 2. That's how you say 0 or 2. Zero, comma, 2. Christian, 0. Let's go to the next example. Letter C underneath the examples. This is an equation where x cannot equal 0. If x is 0, it won't equal out to the correct answer. Let me show you. So, x plus 3 times x minus 1. Our goal is to make one of these sets of parentheses equal to 0. And the way you solve for that is you take this parenthesis and you say, I want this x plus 3 to equal 0. Some of you can just do that in your head. Because if you look at the 3 plus 3, you take the opposite of that to get it to 0. So what is the opposite of plus 3? -3.
-7.
And if you were to go the algebraic route, and you were to actually solve for this, to get the 3 to the other side, you would have to subtract 3, right?
Maybe.
And so, subtracting 3 from both sides, you get a final answer of x equals -3.
So it goes
So how about this other parenthesis? X minus 1 equals 0. What does x have to be?
1.
are you serious?
Add 1 to both sides. X equals 1. So, your answers for that example, you can write x equals
3 or x equals 1.
-3,
Comma,
1. Bam! Got it, Josh.
And it has to go in that
Would
order.
it also equal -1? Because -1 plus 3 is -2. Oh wait, never mind. It's 2. Okay, never mind. Okay.
I saw where your mind was going.
Wait.
And I understand
I
what you're
didn't
doing. Ben?
See where Sam's is going.
Yeah.
So if the parentheses like multiply afterwards, then no, never mind. Got it.
Luke?
Oh yeah. It has to go in -3, comma 1. It can't go in 1, comma -3, right?
It can go 1 comma -3 as long as the negative is next to the correct number.
But wait,
It's just 2 answers. It's not like a.
Yeah.
I know, but you need -3 in this parenthesis. If it was in this parenthesis, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, so what happens, if you, suppose you put -3 into here, then you have this parenthesis will equal 0 times -3 minus 1 is -4. What's 0 times -4?
0.
It's 0. That's why it works. At least one of the parentheses has to be 0.
Cool.
No.
All right, factoring and the zero product property. These next 3 examples, the first step is to take what's on the left side of the equal sign, factor it, and then use the zero product property. So, while many of you guys are working on your homework, and I want you to keep doing what you're doing, but I'm going to go through these examples, and if you'd be so kind as to keep on participating, even if you're doing your homework, I would love that. All right, 2x squared plus 5x equals 0. What is the very first thing that you do when you factor? Nils.
Like terms.
Find the. Yeah.
Yep. Find the GCF.
Like terms, man.
What's the GCF?
X.
Back.
X.
X.
Country like X.
Backwards
X.
distributing. We have 2x plus 5 equals 0. All right. What should we make that x to make the whole equation 0?
0.
Josh?
0.
Yeah, 0, right?
Everything should be 0. All the answers are 0.
That's 0. What should we make that x to make it equal 0? And here's where you may have to take an extra step and write it out as a separate problem. 2x plus 5, we want that to somehow equal 0. So, write it down here, 2x plus 5. We want it to equal 0, so what is x?
Ooh, I know it.
Hannah or Christian?
2x equals.
So if you move the 5 over by subtracting it away from both sides, 2x equals -5, and then divide away the 2 to get the x alone. X equals -5/2. You could write it as a decimal.
Or you can write it as
And so your final answer should look like this: x equals 0, comma, -5/2.
Wait,
Yes.
couldn't you just have them both equal 0 and it equals 0?
If you made this one 0, well, yes, you make them both 0, it'll equal 0 in the end. But we're looking for all the possible solutions, not just one.
Okay. Because the x would be squared, so that means there's going to be at least 2.
At least 2. x squared plus 5x minus 14.
No.
Minus 14? Minus 14. Okay.
Would you use the trinomial method on this one if there's no greatest common factor?
No greatest common factor, so 3 terms, trinomial method. Backwards foiling. And x times x multiplies to x squared. So now we look over here and so we say what multiplies to negative 14 adds to 5. Niels?
Would be 7 and negative 2.
Yes.
No, you shut.
And so if you want to work through this homework and go pretty fast, whenever you see a trinomial with no number in the front, it'll create 2 of these where it's just an x minus or plus a number. If you see x minus plus a number, your answer is going to be the opposite of that number. So I can look at this and just say opposite of negative 2, positive 2.
Or not.
Opposite of positive 7,
Negative 7.
negative 7.
But then
Not too
it
bad.
should be negative 4.
Wait.
Ellen?
So when you know that it's opposite?
So the only situation where it's guaranteed to be opposite is if you look in here and this x is alone. It's just subtracting or adding a number. And the last one, two x squared is 9x plus 9. Greatest common factor? There's no 2 in the 9. There's no x in that last term, so we do not have a GCI. 3 terms, trinomial method. What multiplies to 2x squared?
2x squared. Or
2x
2x
and
and
1x.
x.
What multiplies to positive 9? There's a few options.
3 and 3.
Let's go with 3 and 3. And yes, that will FOIL out to create this.
So then x would equal
This one's easier.
0.3.
Christian.
Would it be negative 0.5 and negative 3?
So if you put in I know for sure that there's a negative 3 because you put a negative 3 in there, it'll make this parenthesis 0. Negative 0.5. Christian's looking at this and saying,
No, negative 1.5.
negative 1.5. Christian's looking at this and saying, I know that I have to add 3 to get to 0. So this number has to be negative 3. And if this number is negative 3, what does x have to equal? And negative 1.5. And if you wanted to just make sure you're doing it right, do the math. 2x plus 3 equals 0. Solve for x, and that'll give you your negative 1.5. How's it going? Does it all make sense? Is it clicking?
No.
I'm going to walk around the room and